Standard shopping campaigns may have been replaced by performance max campaigns recently, but they still hold a very important part when it comes to a properly set up Google ad strategy. And in this video, we're going to go over my exact standard shopping campaign strategy when it comes to Google shopping ads and show you exactly how I mix up standard shopping still to this day with performance max campaigns and with other campaign types. Now, there's actually two different main strategies which involve standard shopping campaigns, and these two main strategies are entirely determined by the level of scale your ad account has currently achieved. So what I mean by this is, if your ad account is completely brand new, like this ad account right here on my screen, we had just launched shopping campaigns for this and just campaigns in general actually earlier last month, which was March 15th. I'm recording this video on April 11th, versus the campaign strategy where it's a more established ad account. It's already scaling pretty well. There's two different approaches to this. Let's start off with the first approach, which is related to the newer ad accounts. Now, within this newer ad account strategy, there's actually three subcategories and sub strategies, as I like to say, which essentially means there's three different ways for you to go about this. The first way is by having a standard shopping campaign for just all of the products in total on your e-commerce brand, which is exactly what we did right here. By the way, as you can see, there's currently four different campaigns in total running. The first one is the only shopping campaign. If we go inside the shopping campaign, and I'm just gonna go inside to the product section because it's a little bit buggy here. Let me go ahead and show you guys how many products there are in total. There's only a total of 6 products. So the entire reason why we decided to go with the all product standard shopping campaign for this e-commerce brand is simply because there's not a whole bunch of products for us to go about with the second sub strategy with standard shopping, which is segregation based on collections. It's nothing new. I've talked about this quite often in my videos. It's basically the strategy where you segregate your products out based on the collections you have within your ad account. So to illustrate that strategy, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go inside this other ad account and show you the multiple different campaigns running at any given time. Basically, the way that this strategy works is you want to choose your top collections. It could be, maybe if you're in the baby niche, the baby toys collection versus the baby cribs collection versus the baby diaper collection. Put all of these three collections into their own individual standard shopping campaigns. That's one of the most easiest approaches, especially if you don't have a lot of data coming in, which is what kind of this brand right here did. So if we look at all of the campaigns, there are several different shopping campaigns running right here along with performance max campaigns, because this brand is a little bit more advanced. It's not necessarily new, but they still decided to use shopping campaigns within their strategy. They decided to segregate products out based on certain collections and based on certain KPIs. Now, keep in mind, when I say collection, that does not necessarily mean you always need to just group it by specific collections. A collection could also mean a collection of losing products versus winning products, which is essentially what this e-commerce brand did right here. If we look at this campaign, this is actually a campaign full of products which were losers in the past, meaning these products for some reason just stopped selling well, or maybe they never even started selling to begin with. We can kind of say that they're a collection of their own individual products, and you can then go ahead and group them together inside their own individual standard shopping campaigns. That's kind of the second strategy and approach when it comes to newer ad accounts. The first one was just putting all the products inside of one standard shopping campaign. I recommend that approach if you don't have a lot of experience with Google Ads, or if you have not too many products on your store, maybe 10 products, 20, 50, even 100 products, it's completely fine to just jam pack them together. The second approach, which is what I recommend if you have a bigger budget or if you're more skilled with a team handling your Google Ads, or you have more SKUs, is to go the collection based approach. And this brings us to the third and final kind of approach for the newer ad accounts, which is the KPI based approach, which is exactly what this is right here. Basically, a certain profit margin of products all get grouped into this individual shopping campaign, and it runs at a decent bid, which basically is something that you can come up with based on the results with your other campaigns. Or since it's a brand new ad account, you can start off with a lower bid, maybe around 30, 40, 50 cents, and then work your way up based on the profit margin. So obviously the lower the profit margin, the lower the bid. There's no really right or wrong answer in terms of the approach for that, because in the beginning you're pretty much guessing your bid. There's no real approach out there which can tell you the exact bid you should have for your standard shopping campaigns. But that's pretty much the approaches. The only 3 approaches I recommend for newer ad accounts when it comes to standard shopping campaigns. Let's move on now to the next approach, which is more for the advanced brands. Exactly what should you be doing in that case? Now with advanced brands, I still like to keep it fairly simple, but of course now we already have data coming in. We're not limited to just standard shopping campaigns. So the first ideal approach with standard shopping, and usually what I take for big brands, is the performance max campaign approach plus the standard shopping campaign approach. And this ad account right here is the perfect example of that. So as you can see at the very top, this is a standard shopping campaign which has been running and has spent $10,500 in the last 30 days, which is pretty much because it's running at a $565 a day budget. Whereas the performance max campaign, it's only running at a $60 a day budget, and it's only spent $2,167 in the last 30 days. So clearly the standard shopping campaign is outperforming the performance max campaign here. But the approach is fairly simple. You want to first of all launch a performance max campaign and run with a performance max campaign for testing purposes. So if you want to test multiple different products within your e-commerce brand, the best way to go about that is with a PMax campaign. But you will start to notice when you add more and more and more products to your PMax campaign that not every single product is getting tested properly, and especially those products which are tested properly and are scaling at the moment, they're not able to scale further because there's limitations in terms of the budget. And plus, along with the budget getting spent to the bestseller, it now has to distribute all of that budget across those multiple products you have within that PMax campaign. So the best approach, launch a standard shopping campaign for that best-selling product. That's exactly what we did right here. And because of that, this is the campaign which has been scaling at decent levels for the past 30 days. Of course, it's gonna have its ups and downs, but during this time period of early March, mid-March, I was running at a 3x ROAS, almost a 4x ROAS, which is a pretty big number for this e-commerce brand because the break-even is almost at a 1.95x. So overall, this e-commerce brand has been scaling pretty well with this shopping campaign alone. And if you look inside within the product section, there's actually only one specific product running with 2 different variations of that product in terms of colors. But the interesting thing is, if you look, the price of the product is only $40, but it's still scaling profitably at a bit over $1, which is entirely possible only because this is running on smart bidding. So that's kind of the approach you want to take when it comes to standard shopping at scale. You don't necessarily want to be doing manual bidding or maximize clicks. In this case, instead, you want to use more of the smart automated bidding options. In this case, we set a target ROAS and a target ROAS percentage, which is based off of the data and based off of real results. So that's essentially all we're doing within this ad account. It's been scaling just fine. It's almost at $3,000 a day in revenue, which is a pretty big feat for this e-commerce brand because the AOV is so low compared to the other brands we're working with. But nonetheless, doing fairly well overall in terms of this strategy right here. But this brings us to the second strategy, which you can be trying with standard shopping if you are already in the scaling phase for your e-commerce brand. And that is going back to the winners versus losers standard shopping approach. Now, you can combine the first strategy I just went over, which is the performance max campaign plus standard shopping approach in this case as well. But along with that campaign for scaling your best-selling products, you can also go about with the campaign for losing products, which we covered in the newer ad account strategy, which can be seen with this ad account right here, which is running a PMax campaign and several different standard shopping campaigns. Now, a lot of these have barely spent any money, but that's just the name of the game when it comes to standard shopping. If you set low bids, this is exactly what happens. So you cannot expect to scale too much when it comes to standard shopping, but they are the perfect way to segregate your products out, not only give your PMax campaigns enough room to actually scale to the next level, but then also kind of diversify and distribute your products, which were not necessarily scaling and not necessarily getting even shown at all, to now start showing properly and get the right amount of ad budget they require to scale. So again, you're just making a performance max campaign and then launching a losing products campaign only, where it's only a bunch of losing products at a very low bid. But in addition, launching the campaigns individually for best-selling products or products which you want to test a bit more is kind of the approach to go when it comes to standard shopping for the more scaled ad accounts. Now, I only recommend these two approaches for scaled accounts because ideally you want to be using more automated bidding, more PMAX campaigns at this level. If they're not working for you, it's not because they don't work as a whole, but rather because maybe the strategy you're implementing is not the right strategy, which if you're currently doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your e-commerce brand to the next level with Google Ads through proper strategies. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly work together and make that happen. But I want you to watch this video right here on the best Google Shopping product feed practices you need to implement in order to get any type of results, regardless of whether you use the first approach I mentioned in terms of standard shopping or the second approach, because your feed is the real key to scale your e-commerce brand.